Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the anime Onimusha Season 1 on Netflix. And I thought this was okay. This more is a case of along the lines of I don't think they needed to try and tie this to Onimusha. Now granted, I'm not that deep into the lore. The only game that I played was the Warlords, but I was just like, okay, what the hell is kind of going on here? Because it played more like a historical kind of thing and just threw in kind of this Genma stuff and Oni and all that. And it's just like, alright. And granted, I liked the action scenes that we got in it. It's just, it was a very strange kind of beast because I would almost be like, if you took out Onimusha and you just made this a historical kind of one, and just had like amped up kind of action or whatnot, it would have just been fine. It's really kind of weird to be able to be like, I know this is supposed to be like Taidoni Musha, but I'm not well versed enough to understand why this is, other than, oh, he's got the gauntlet, he's got to fight these demon people. It's like, alright. And the weird thing is, they modeled the person after, the main character after, Toshihiro Mifune, and that's just, it's getting kind of weird, and especially with the introduction of AI of, hey, why don't you just make, like, I know it's modeled after, but it's getting to the point where people are going to be, like, using people's likenesses and even their voices, if we don't get accurate kind of protections. So that really threw it off for me, because I'm like, I didn't see why they needed to do it, because nothing really, you could have just made the person kind of look like anybody. And it's like, alright, I don't see why we needed to go for this, other than you wanted to do it. Now granted, they got permission from his estate. It's just, I'm leery of what that can lead to in the future. And especially if, hey, you're an actor and you died, your estate can puppet around your dead body and get money from it. That, I don't like that. Granted, that's a factor that was in my mind as I'm watching this, and I'm just like, alright, that's kind of weird. So, I understand that that's kind of a weird kind of thing to kind of probably go on for, but it really achieved nothing. Like, if it was about Toshihiro Mifune, yeah, you're probably gonna want someone modeled after him. This think they mainly did this because he was supposed to look like Musashi Miyamoto, who was the character that is kind of going for this, or at least a historical figure that goes by one of those names. And this just mainly deals with, hey, there's this village that went dark, we sent somebody out, and then they went dark, and things are kind of nutty. We got a messenger back that got its arms and legs chopped off, tongue cut out, and had this weird kind of symbol on it. Musashi, go and figure out what's kind of going on. And then he's linked up with these other kind of samurai as well to go check on what's going on. But as everything starts going wrong, we see that this Ieamon dude is controlling demons and controls this one dude to kind of fight Musashi. And the master dude's like, I want to work with him as well. And they kind of go... we see Musashi pretty much utilizing the Oni Gauntlet. We see at least the first action scene in it was really well done, as he beats all these monks and gets the Oni Gauntlet to fight these kind of demons. And he uses it, he's got 33 days to bring it back because he beat 11 of the monks. And this Kaizen dude is pretty much escorting him to make sure that he comes back with the gauntlet. But rather than introduce, like, even though we've got that set up, like, the supernatural elements don't really add that much, other than, like, retaining your humanity or going kind of demon route, even though it's not explained what kind of goes into that with the demon kind of route with the Genma, because the Genma wiped out the Oni, and the Oni was like, kill the Genma, kill the Genma. I was like, Musashi was like, whatever the fuck, man, I just need to fight these fucking bastards. But they're going through, we go to the town, and we see that one child survives, Sayo, and the town that gets overrun by pretty much these zombie, demon-possessed kind of villagers. We see the other samurai utilizing their skills. Goromaru using his falcons. Hikaru's like, he doesn't really utilize this stuff until later on. Sahe being kind of like trying to protect Kaizen's like, I'm just using the stuff and shit. But they keep going on. There's 8 episodes, varying degrees of length. Most of them are 24 minutes. The first and last one are like 36 or whatnot. But we see that Aemon sets about these brothers that Musashi had killed, and he had some interesting fights with them. Pretty much they kidnapped Sayo and pretty much put her in a flaming bell. Kaizen pretty much utilizes his ability, not ability, he like pushes it off to protect her. Goromaru then was like killed before this by one of the brothers who just tosses a fucking spear at his ass. And we get Sayo kind of back. She lays out the information that there's a gold mine that they found, that it turned everybody into greedy bastards. And then, of course, Yaemon came up and like, hey, I'm going to possess these motherfuckers. It's never explained how he got access to the Genma. We also get stuff towards the end about his kind of whole goal, which you don't really get until the end after he kind of explains it. He's essentially trying to initiate a samurai war to kill off all of the samurai because he thinks they're all weak, and tries to create stronger, better samurai to protect Japan. And that evidently means taking like a gold mine in a mountain and making tanks and getting demons to power people up. But yet he is not possessed by a Genma at the end. Which is weird because he's able to do things. He says he's able... it's not explained. It's really kind of weird. So they kind of fight their way through. They take down these like 3 assholes. Take down these 3 assholes as sisters. And they get in there. They take out Butler McFuckface. I wasn't even going to go for that, but I will take it. Hikaru uses this kind of like weird poison thing to make him go nutty, and then Musashi kills him, and then Aemon pretty much does his exposition dump. It's like, yeah, and he pretty much uses a thought. He was able to kind of control the one dude in the beginning that fought Musashi, but then he's also trying to he also mind controls Sayo's parents, and they're pretty much trying to kill her, and then Musashi makes the decision to cut off their heads instead of cutting off their arms. I don't know why he didn't think of that route. Sayo doesn't think of him as a monster, even though he thinks of himself as a monster. And then he's trying to go after Aemon, but then his one rival, Kojiro, had been resurrected as a Genma, and he chops off Aemon's arms and legs. This, however, is not the end for him, as he fucking goes, I'm gonna win, motherfucker! And fucking is able to, like, corpse crawl. Well, he's not a corpse. He's somehow still alive with the inordinate amount of blood that he's lost. And he's not possessed by a Genma. It's like, how is he thought controlling these people? How is he doing this shit? He's like, Sahe, I need you to pretty much Genmify my ass so that way I can survive. And then he like kills him. He's like, oh yeah, Sayo, I'm pretty much an agent that's supposed to kill everybody and then knows everybody, but that's mine. Who cares? Because he was tasked with his lord to do that. There's like all this kind of political stuff in the background that if they had just done a political time period piece about what was going on during this era, I would have enjoyed it better. Like, there's this TV miniseries, Shogun, which is this dude like gets shipwrecked in Japan and dealing with all that kind of stuff. I am going to watch it at some point. And they're actually doing a newer version of that in 2024 in February on FX, and I'm interested in that as well. But back to this. It's just like, alright, Sahe looks like he dies, so everybody pretty much dies. We see that Kojiro and Musashi go on a pretty big fight scene. Musashi pretty much getting onified, and them having this big kind of battle, but Sayo's able to talk him out of it, and instead he goes and fights Kojiro as a man with an oar, and then the mine collapses, and it looks like it kills them all, except for Sayo. It's implied, I guess, that she returns the Oni Gauntlet, uses a chunk of gold, and goes to a hotel place. It was very kind of weird. I liked the characters and the interesting kind of aspects that they were doing with it, but the Onimusha stuff on it didn't make sense in how it was integrated to me, and that I'm like, this isn't adding anything. Granted, the action scenes were awesome, and how kind of crazy seeing Musashi try and take on the kind of three brothers, and essentially Chunky Cole Medina kibbles and bits this motherfucker into pretty much goo. But if this was not called Onimusha and was just generic supernatural, old school Japanese samurai anime, I would not, like, I believe you. I'm like, oh, okay, other than knowing about Onimusha and the gauntlet that's kind of involved with the game stuff, I couldn't for the life of me be able to be like, yeah, that's Onimusha, because none of the characters that I remember from the game were in this. So I'm like, alright, this is almost like doing Resident Evil, except you do it. Okay, how would I do this? It's like doing Resident Evil, but you don't use any of the characters or even Umbrella, but like zombies are still a factor, and you're like, where did these zombies come from? And you don't even know where they came from. Like Billy Bob Joe of Fargo, North Dakota. Fargo, North Dakota? Yeah. Is fighting zombies and you don't even know where the zombies came from or who they're, like, connected to. Now, granted, I understand that I don't need everything kind of answered, but Yaemon looked like he was supposed to have control over this shit and pretty much be, like, because of the Genma powers or whatnot, but he then gets pretty much tanked by this dude that he fucking resurrected himself, and he should have been dead. But then he's able to, like, corpse crawl, like, do a fucking worm shit before Sae kills him, and it's like, I don't even know. It was a mess. Like, I liked the use of the CG animation. That worked out very well. The action scenes were nice. Had a nice flow to it. Not as many jump cuts as there could have been. The 2D animation was very nice when we get it with certain kind of flashback scenes. I liked the voice acting for the actors that they got. It didn't throw me off too much with any kind of weird things or whatnot. It's just... it's really weird when you're watching a show and you're like, I don't know why this thing is this thing. I don't know. It's very strange for me to explain. I don't know if I would recommend this, because, and there's no, like, very big glaring problems with it, except for the ones that I've lined out of, like, I don't like how they use Toshihiro Mifune, and I don't think that they really well enough utilize the Onimusha premise here. Just like, oh, it's not as bad as Welcome to Raccoon City, but it's like, let's throw in references, because that was almost done as references and done wrongly and executed wrongly on purpose. I've never fucking seen that really truly done before, and at least on that level. Here it's just like, oh, here's these references. Can you connect them a little bit more for me, please? So, I wouldn't call it really horrendous or bad or anything. I had I got enjoyment out of it. I had a nice time watching it. It was just like, why is this here? And it could be done better, even though it did stuff pretty well. So, if you're mainly into the action, sure. It's bloody, but not gory, if that makes sense. So, I put it this way, it's not on the level of like a Hellraiser or The Thing or Event Horizon. So that is where I kind of put my, like, that's my 10 level of, I'm gonna puke and have nightmares for about like 3 years if I watch this. But it's not like oh, they bleed green and they're quite alright and they give you a thumbs up when they die. It's kind of like that middle ground of like, there's blood, but it's not gory to the point where you're going to throw up and have horrendous nightmares for it. So I would only really recommend this on the fact of the action scenes mainly. Other than that, I really don't think there's much here, story-wise or whatnot. I understand them trying to figure out your humanity, what fighting and war does. It's just there's not enough time and space invested in this to adequately explore those, especially with all the characters, and especially when you lose a character almost every episode. So your ability to invest in them diminishes over time as you're like, alright, it's their time to die, their time to die, their time to die, now we're at the end, and we're done. So this was a very fucking weird one for me. But if you enjoyed it, I'm happy for you. And if you didn't like it, I get that too. So, those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.